In case you don't know, we use Anchor to distribute our podcast. We love it because it's free, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. There's no minimum listenership to start earning money, if that's a goal for your podcast. And everything you need to make a podcast is in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started creating your own podcast. Hi, this is Cheyenne.
And this is Rachel.
Welcome to What the Finance.
We're so glad you're here. So we thought that probably as close as either one of us was going to get to a vacation anytime in the near future was going to be talking about vacations. So here we are talking about how to make financially smart vacationing decisions. And also apparently trying to set a world record for how many times you can use the word talk in a single in a podcast opening.
I don't think this year has gone according to plan for anybody. This has been
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think everybody is at the point where they could use a vacation. Life is hard. Vacations are good. I love vacations. We try to take one every other year-ish, give or take. But I also try really hard to find the best possible deal that I can on vacations.
Yeah.
We've taken some pretty inexpensive trips, and we've taken some trips that we probably could have saved more had we been, and by we, I mean me. I'm the one that does the research and the bookings and stuff like that most of the time, except for hotels, but that's a whole other story for a different time. I'm very bad at booking hotels. Very bad at it. Which is hilarious because I'm a list maker, I'm a planner, but something in the system breaks down when it comes to hotels. Like, I don't know what happened, but it's just
about you.
Oh yeah, I know. So this is welcome to Rachel and Cheyenne. We're gonna get sidetracked a little bit. So most notably, my wife one time told me specifically the name of and the location of the hotel that I should book. Booked a hotel across town.
Oh, no.
I don't know how I did it. And it was a very memorable experience. It was hilarious. It was fine. The room was fine. Everything about it was fine. But just location-wise would have been more convenient to be at the place that she told us because we would have been like a block away from the venue that we were going to. It's hilarious now. It was hilarious at the time. But it's been a thing. So I didn't book hotels forever until semi-recently, actually. I booked one, and I did a much better job.
Well done.
Thank you. But there's still some of that, that anxiety that comes into it when I'm like, oh gosh, have I made the right decision? Did I book the right place? It's a thing.
That's fair. I think that might be a situation too where your anxiety helps you to do a better job. At one time when we were going on vacation, and so in our family, my husband Nathan does all the booking and then I do all the paying. Is kind of how we end up splitting the work. So he booked the flights for the wrong direction. I think it was our first cruise as a family. So we were going to Florida, and he booked our flights when we were supposed to be in Florida, flying, Orlando to Minneapolis, and then, the other way around, which that wouldn't really help us. So he very sweetly then, called the airline and was like, here's the here's the situation. Can you get us Lyft around? And they were, we flew on Delta. And because they were awesome, I feel very comfortable telling you that it was Delta. They were great. And they got us taken care of. But now, when he books flights, he's like, okay, are the airports right? Are we going right? Because he still does it. So lazy, and he's awesome. So
it is
the anxiety helps.
It does. So the most recent hotel fiasco was that every once in a while, we take like weekend trips. And I specifically wanted to, there was a very specific room type that we wanted. Specifically wanted to book a room with a king size bed. I somehow like had the room type selected, had like triple checked it multiple times, booked the room, got the confirmation email, was not the room type.
No!
Contacted their customer service to be like, hey, I don't know how I managed to do this, but this is what happened. And they were like, I'm really sorry that happened. We can't change it, but there's free cancellation. Would you like to cancel it? And I was like, yeah, I do. So then they canceled it and they were like, would you like to rebook through us? And I was like, no, I don't. In fact, I never want to book a hotel room again. I didn't say that to them, but like, and that's the story of why Cheyenne should not be allowed to book hotel rooms. Which is hilarious because it's part of my job to do for people. I do it just fine for them. I don't know what the problem is when I don't know. It ended up being fine. We rebooked. It was fine. I actually found it for cheaper. It was great, but I was just like still a little like, how does this happen in my life twice? How does this
happen? Oh man.
So from now on, when you go to book rooms for hotels, think of me.
Okay.
And quadruple check everything. And then check your confirmation. Oh. Thankfully, I live with like the chillest person on the planet who just laughs at me when this stuff happens too. She thinks it's hilarious.
Well, that's good.
It's an ongoing joke in our relationship now because I don't know. Maybe it's like an attention to detail issue I have. I don't know. And I'm inclined to not think that that's the case because like, I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm detail oriented. I'm definitely more like a medium to big picture person, but I do focus on details. That is the thing. So right. How this has happened twice, I'll never know.
I don't remember exactly what happened, but I did have a somewhat similar experience within like the last 2 years. And I'm just going to blame technology for this one. Right? You click on the right thing and then somehow, right, like the data refreshes as you're hitting confirm or something like that. That's what I'm telling myself. So the first time I think was absolutely me. Like that was absolutely human error. Mm-hmm. The second most recent time, I honestly think I used a booking website, and I think that because the room types were similar in price, they gave me a different room type. And if it hadn't specifically been like, because I was specifically wanted a specific room type, I don't think it would have mattered. And like in all reality, had we showed up, not had our like specified room type, would it have ruined the whole trip? Yes. Because, you know, that's why we were going, but like although to your credit, one thing that I always think about with hotels is my, time in a past life as a reservation agent for Marriott. At least both of those times you were booking a hotel in the city that you wanted to stay in, and that you knew what city that you wanted to stay in.
I did know the city.
Like, when I was a brand new reservation agent, I took a phone call from a guy who wanted to stay at the Grand Canyon. Clues in the name, it's big. And the way that our database was set up, you couldn't just type in the Grand Canyon and come up with like a list of hotels. And as an 18-year-old, I had no clue like what city you would stay in if you wanted to go to the Grand Canyon.
Really honest, I'm in my 30s and I don't know I don't know what city you would stay in.
Yeah, so I actually, when we were preparing for this episode, I looked it up because I still didn't know, even after that experience. If you wanted to stay at a Marriott hotel, you would stay in Kingman, Arizona. Here's another fun fact that makes me feel way better about that whole situation. Not that I was like losing sleep over it or anything, but at the time that I took that call from that surly fellow who wanted to go to the Grand Canyon, Marriott did not have a hotel anywhere near the Grand Canyon. The one they have now was built about 4 years after this encounter. So,
of course,
even if I had known, I still couldn't have helped him. But still, I'm like, he was, this guy was living not in the United States. He wanted to fly someplace in the US, also pretty big, and go to the Grand Canyon. So at least you knew where specifically you wanted to go.
I did, yes. That is pretty typically a thing. Although, if ever you want an adventure, I guess call me up to do your reservations. You'll end up somewhere totally different. And not the type of room that you wanted. Just add some
Probably
adventure
not
to your life.
Climate that you were hoping
No.
for either.
No. Maybe that'll be like a business venture at some point. Like, it'll be a game. It's like, oh, it could be like some sort of like lottery type thing. Like I don't know. But side note, vacation, like surprise vacations, totally a thing.
Yeah.
I want to do one, actually. So if anybody knows of like companies that do it that you or somebody you know has used, let me know. Hit us up in some comments or a message or something like that, because I would absolutely do it.
That would be really fun.
Also, I think I would be hilarious not knowing any of those things. I can't think of the company that I once heard of, because we've talked about this a couple.
Pack Up and Go.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that we've talked about.
Yep. So that's pretty cool as an option. Yeah. You can tell it like your budget. Ooh, look at that, tying things back to budgets.
Yeah.
So you can tell it your budget. You can tell it what kind of vacations you prefer, like beach or mountain, or what kind of climates, that kind of stuff. And then how many people, how long the trip, and then how you'd like to travel. I think trains and plane, and I think maybe driving might be an option. I don't remember anymore, but
yeah, it's been a while since I've checked them out, but that seems like a very cool idea. And also, if you're feeling like stressed out and you don't want to do any of the work, like that's super appealing. Just like, here, take my money, set something up for me.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it definitely does. So for our first vacation that Bridget and I took together, as a married couple, we used a travel agent, which I also found to be pretty convenient. I'll be honest. I enjoyed that. It took a lot of the stress out of it. It was really nice. Price-wise, I found it to be comparable to us booking on our own at the time that we booked to the place that we went. Like, I don't felt like it added to the cost of it, so.
Yeah. And I think we've used a travel agent twice ever. So all of our family vacations have been Disney vacations. Unknown to me, 10 years ago, I married a Disney fanatic. Um, and as a family, we've had the opportunity to go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at Disney World. And I can't remember the name of their Christmas party, whatever their Christmas party is that they do at Disney World. And it's a special ticketed event. Like you can't just buy park tickets and go to those. And so they sell out really fast. So we used a travel agent for both of those because they just, sometimes their job, it really is to just sit there and like click refresh and refresh and refresh and refresh and then go, okay, there's tickets available. I'm going to buy them. Like the stuff that you maybe don't have time to do in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Definitely well worth it.
Yeah. I think like the one time that we used one, we weren't super specific about where we wanted to go. We kind of did the same thing we did with like the surprise vacation idea. We gave a budget, a climate, and we were pretty open past that. And it was an enjoyable trip. I would go through that travel agent again. But since then, we have booked on our own just because, like I said, I can watch for deals. And our last bigger vacation, we went somewhere, the two of us, we went to like a tropical area, and I want to say it was like $2,200 for the both of us, flights and resort included. So
yeah, that's not bad. So as somebody who travels with children, I mentioned a few minutes ago that Disney vacations are kind of our preferred family vacations. And our last 3 have been Disney cruises. If you're traveling with young kids, I promise it would be awesome if we were sponsored by Disney Cruise Line, but we're not. I just really like them. I really do recommend them for your vacations because they have really great programming for all your kids, regardless of their age. Because I'm assuming that part of the reason that you need a vacation if you're traveling with kids is because of your kids. So you maybe don't want to hang out with them the whole time. And the other thing that I like about Disney is a 100% practical thing. And all the cruise lines that we have researched as a family, they have nurseries on board that you usually have to pay extra for kids that are at least 6 months old. But all other cruise lines, except for Disney, cut off access to the nursery to kids as soon as they are 3 years old. Now, our family, the real kicker is that to go to the big kids club, you've got to be potty trained. I'm going to be real honest. I've never met a 3-year-old who was actually potty trained. So far, both of the humans that I have potty trained were trained well after they were 3. On Disney, they will let a 3-year-old into the nursery if they're still working on the potty training. So you can still offload your kids even if they're still in diapers, which I think is super important. I know you mentioned the trips that the 2 of you took for flights and hotel, and the whole thing was $2,200. Our last Disney cruise as a family of 5 was about $5,500. So really, but the same per person, right?
True.
As what you spent.
Yeah.
So some of that practical stuff I think is really worth looking at if you're trying to figure out, like, I want to go somewhere, I want to do stuff as a family, and I want to do stuff by myself. Like finding an option for you where you can do all of those things is, I think, really important. And people talk about how much money it is, but like really, if you're 5 people going anywhere, it's a lot of money.
It is.
And you've
Yeah,
got to
it
save
definitely
for
is.
it and all that other, and plan for contingencies, you know, if people get sick or even in normal times.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't travel with children. I've traveled near children. From my understanding of some of the stuff that I've overheard, things don't go as planned.
It's true. That's true. For example, throwing up, the thing that we have talked about.
Yeah. Weird that nobody, just plans for that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Because, yeah, our back to cruising, our second cruise as a family, years later, still feel guilty about this. We gotten off the ship. We were on the bus on the way back to Orlando International Airport. I was sitting with our oldest daughter, Elizabeth, and our youngest daughter, Ada, was sitting with her dad. The girls wanted to switch. So they switched. Almost immediately upon switching, Elizabeth threw up all over herself and her dad.
Mm.
We didn't have a bag. Thankfully, like for the clothes or anything, thankfully another parent on the bus was more prepared than we were and gave us a bag for the gross clothes for our child. But we were parted from our luggage, so we didn't have any clothes for Nathan. Part of the reason that I feel so guilty about this is because it would have been way easier to buy a new set of clothes for me in the airport than it turned out to be for him. He's a big guy.
Mm.
So instead we found something that fit him in an Oakley store, and $110 later, he was outfitted in a t-shirt and a ratty pair of sweatpants that were apparently stylish.
Very his style.
It didn't smell like puke.
Mm.
I would not have spent, in any other situation, would not have spent $110 on that outfit. I don't know if I would have spent $10 on that outfit. But there we were. And that's what happened. So yeah, also, if you're traveling for kids, learn from this. Prepare for puke. Bring bags and extra clothes for your whole family. Or you're going to have a really... It is true, compared to what we spent, $110 is not that much, but it was also $110 that we weren't planning on spending. And that can really feel like a gut punch on a situation that is already pretty terrible.
Yeah. When we take trips, like we budget for the cost of the trip, spending money, and then a little bit of an emergency fund set aside specifically for that trip. If we don't spend it, great. It just goes into our savings. But if we do end up needing it, then it's there, thankfully. And we've not needed it, but oh man, it's
like
one
if
of
you
those.
got parted from your luggage,
Yeah,
or anything like that, like yeah,
it's definitely. I will say though, something that I have experienced on both of our trips that we've taken, like just the two of us. Both times we went somewhere like warm and by an ocean. Coming back, our luggage weighed a lot more than it did on the way there. And the first time kind of made sense because I thought it was just souvenirs and stuff. And we didn't buy that much, but I have no spatial reasoning skills, so I don't know how much some of this stuff weighs. Like it didn't really dawn on me until the second time we were coming back. And I was like, we have less stuff now. I used I'm pretty sure a gallon of sunblock. How does this weigh more? Turns out humidity. Everything is soggy. Just slightly damp. Everything. And I mean everything.
Yep.
Because when you're by an ocean, everything is just moist. It just is.
Yeah. That's the way that it works.
So both times I was putting as much as I possibly could into my carry-on, trying to get the weight of our suitcase down. And like, do I overpack? Yes. Have I learned from it? No. Will I do it again? Yes. But it took me 2 trips to figure that out.
Mm.
And I mean, I joke. I probably will account for it a little bit more, and especially because like we've done a couple of those trips now, so I kind of know what I won't use. The last time we went going to like all-inclusive resorts.
Mm-hmm.
And we spend most of our time either by the pool or on the beach. So we have, I'm pretty sure the like actual amount is metric shit ton of swimsuits. You have like 2 a day. Okay, well, it might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but we have more swimsuits than you
Like
would think you
anything
need.
else.
Yeah. But I also learned that like realistically, I wear like the same 2 like beach cover up type clothes. And for me, one is usually a dress and one is usually like a t-shirt and like lounge pants type things. All of the other ones that I bring that I think I'm gonna wear, I never wear. I have my 2 comfy ones. I could not pack them. We'll see. We'll see if future Shy takes that into consideration. I doubt she will. Spoiler.
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, the other piece of packing for me is that I used to think that there was nothing worse than doing laundry on vacation. It turns out that that's not true. It's not that big of a deal.
I imagine I'd be just as good at it there as I am here.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite thing.
Oh, same.
You know, but it turns out that it's really just mostly fine.
Mm-hmm.
You bring some laundry supplies with you because they will, overcharge you wherever you're staying at the laundromat. You know, if you don't have like your own soap or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
do a load midweek really cuts down on what you've got to pack, and then it doesn't matter if your kid squirted ketchup all over their outfit at dinner. That's just going to get washed later. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I did. One of the times we went to go visit Bridget's mom last year, and I cannot even take any credit for this. Her mom definitely did our laundry before we came back for us.
Oh.
It was super nice. Rachel, if you're listening, thank you. It was ridiculously nice to not have to come back and wash an entire suitcase of laundry. I did learn a little something from that trip. That might be something that I try to work into, because it was pretty convenient to just be able to put stuff away.
Well, depending on the type of trip you're taking, we went to Utah earlier in the year when it was still safe to travel, but we knew that on our way back we were going to be bringing some pretty big stuff with us. So we took that trip because both of my mom's parents were still alive, and we felt pretty strongly that we needed to go and see them. But my grandparents were moving from their house to an assisted living home, or getting rid, like they were just cleaning out their house, or they weren't. My aunts and uncles were cleaning out their house. I think this particular piece of furniture got mentioned on our episode about holiday giving. My grandpa built this shelf for holding sheet music. But it's big. It's a big piece of furniture. But because we were driving out there, we brought it back with us, along with a bunch of other stuff that was being given to my parents. So, like, having adopted the mindset that it was okay to do laundry when you're traveling did help us to travel a little bit lighter, so then we had room in the car for some of that big stuff that had to come back with.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Also, conveniently, my aunt and uncle that we stayed with when we were there have 3 laundry rooms in their home. So I could do laundry for my family without stepping on anybody else's laundry toes, and that was nice. The only other thing that I wanted to touch on that we haven't yet in our conversation is to talk about setting up a sinking fund in your
I do love me
budget.
a sinking.
Yeah, they're great.
They are. I'm a sucker for them.
Mm-hmm.
Got a few.
Yeah. I've got a couple. I'm still kind of dipping my toes into the whole sinking fund world. But I do have one for travel. So, yeah. Because yeah, if you're talking about like thousands of dollars, like somebody just saying that number you can have like Looney Tune eyes coming out of your head.
Yeah.
But if you know that like the trip that you want to take is that much, say, okay, I'm going to take that trip in 2 years, and I'm going to, in this sinking fund, I'm going to put in, I don't know, $200 a month or whatever it is. Because if you have your budget set up that way, it adds up a lot faster than you think that it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does. I've talked about sinking funds in the past. I am a fan. It took me some time to get like used to. It took me some time to kind of wrap my head around them, but once I got there, they are very convenient, especially for things like travel. I would definitely, as far as traveling and budgeting go, my biggest pieces of advice would be figure out what you want to do and budget for that. If that's not an option, figure out what your budget is and then find what you can do within that budget.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about hidden costs, but try to kind of identify those as you go. If you're doing your research on what kind of a trip you want to take. If you're going on a cruise, are they going to ask you to purchase a beverage package? Or if you're at an all-inclusive resort, how all-inclusive is it really? Or once again, if you're traveling with kids, don't forget the wipes.
Yeah.
They're expensive on the road.
Yeah.
So like small things like that reasonably easy to identify. You just have to identify them so that they don't surprise you later on.
And if you know people that travel, ask them. They definitely have stories of things that they forgot or didn't think they would ever need, but probably always bring on a trip with them, and they probably have a hilarious story to go with it.
Yes. And really, the days of like bringing out your slide projector to look at family photos at the end of a vacation are behind us. But people love talking about their vacations. So if you ask people, they probably have something to tell you.
Definitely. And I enjoy hearing about other people's trips because it gives me ideas on places I want to go, things I want to do, lessons that they've learned.
Yes.
I've learned all kinds of stuff from hearing about other people's stories. But I love to travel. I would be a very sad person if I couldn't travel. And even like through pandemic, it's been hard, but we camp a lot, which thankfully is totally doable in pandemic. And that fills my little travel meter.
Yes.
Also, camping is a great way to travel. And there are tons of free resources for camping.
And really, then you just have to embrace your inner child and remember when sleeping on the ground, if you're in a tent and not in a super cool camper, was cool and exciting. That can be really nice as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, we could have almost done an entire episode on camping.
So until next week.
Yay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of What the Finance. You can subscribe everywhere you get your podcast so you never miss an episode.
You can also email us at what_the_finance@protonmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at What the Finance. Follow us on Instagram at What the Finance. check us out on Pinterest at What the Finance, or tweet us at finance_what.